check on YouTube's end and make sure that we are live. Looks like that we are. What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for coming on in today. How you guys doing? Let me see if this is working properly. Can you guys hear me? Let's see. Testing. Oh, that's not good. Why does it sound like that? Should not sound like that. I am glad that I'm checking, because should not sound like that. Alright.
Hopefully this sounds better now. Checking. Let's see. Yes. Okay. I don't know what the heck was up with that just now. That was really strange. But I was able to fix it, so that's good. Hope everybody's doing well. I may just have to go live with this later on because I think it might be a little bit too early in the morning. It says that we have a couple of people that are tuned in right now. So hello to you guys that are here. If there is anybody here, let me know. If there's anybody that has any questions at all. I want to do this stream, but it might be a little bit too early. So I might have to come back and do this later on tonight when more people are awake and around. That's kind of what it's seeming like to me, is that it might be a little bit too early right now to do this. Well, at least I have everything set up correctly now. That's the good thing. Rob, what's up? Thanks for coming in. Rob, I don't know if you've been even following what's been going on, but it's crazy the last little while. And you can hear me okay right now, by the way, right? I hope, because there was just this weird error that, not error, but there was this weird issue with my mic on OBS. For whatever reason, it sounded strange. So I think I fixed it, but I don't know why it was like that initially to begin with. Yeah, same here for the most part. I mean, like, yes and no, because this is obviously with Jailbreak Hub, that's kind of like what I do. But there really just hasn't been much of anything up until literally just now. We've had like the Nugget stuff, and that's been really interesting and really exciting because that works for the latest devices and the latest firmwares. So it's not jailbreak stuff, but it's way closer to jailbreak stuff than it would have been years ago. So it is a little bit different. It's not, you can't install Cilio on 26 and start playing around with your favorite tweaks. It's a little bit different. It's not a jailbreak, but at the same time, like, it gives you custom wallpapers. This new update that's coming out soon will give you the ability to, like, enable Stage Manager and basically, like, turn your iPhone into an iPad. There's definitely some cool things coming. Yeah, I got a 17 Pro Max also. Still experiment with 32-bit jailbreaks. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know what you mean there. Yeah, I'm thinking I definitely like want to go live again and do like a Q&A for this stuff, and really talk about it in full. I had a a space where I talked about all of this, and I had a bunch of people in there the other day when all this stuff was just breaking and it was brand new. But I think it's probably just too early. On the West Coast, it's definitely too early, but on the East Coast, it's probably a little bit too early to do this. I've heard of the Project Nugget, but have no clue what it is and what it supports. So Nugget supports just about everything in terms of like modern devices these days, and it supports up to the latest iOS version. Check out if you want like a better picture of what Nugget does. Look at some of my most recent videos about Nugget. I did like a bunch of beginner's guides to Nugget. If you're new to Nugget and you're not sure what it is, that's for Rob and that's for anybody else that's listening right now that's new or that's new to Nugget and is not sure what that is. Check out a bunch of the beginner's guides that I've made because it goes into like all of the different things that you could do. You could do some really cool wallpaper stuff that what's crazy is it's like it feels like that should have been a jailbreak tweak, but there was never actually any wallpaper stuff like this that was a jailbreak tweak, which is crazy. But it gives the feeling that it's a customization that you got if you had your device jailbroken. There's this gyro wallpaper feature that's really cool. It uses the gyroscope. For example, if you remember the iBeer app from years ago, there's a wallpaper that emulates that where it uses the gyroscope and you can tilt the phone and it tilts the beer up and down. So that's just like one example. There's a Flappy Bird wallpaper where if you tilt your phone, the bird will move up and down with the movement of the phone with the gyroscope. So they've been able to do a lot of really, really cool things. Those are just two quick examples of the things that were possible with that. Up to what CPU? Laz, I'm not sure the specifics of what you're asking. If you're talking about the jailbreak, that would be the newest supported by this 17.0 jailbreak would be the iPhone 15 Pro series or just the iPhone 15 series. But you need to be on iOS 17.0. If it's anything later than that, which you'll see is going to become quite the issue for most people, if it's on any other later iOS version other than 17.0, so say like 17.0.1, 17.1, even like, later versions of 17, it won't work. So yeah, it's cool because finally we're finally getting something, but at the same time, the amount of people that is actually it's useful to is very little, unfortunately. And if you're trying to get a new phone, if you're trying to go on a third-party seller like eBay or Facebook Marketplace or anything to try your best to get a phone on 17.0, it very much is a needle in a haystack. So let's see. Does it support the 17 Pro Max on the latest iOS? Yes, Rob, Nugget does. Yeah, that's what I've been using because I have my 17 Pro Max on 26.1. And you'll actually be able to, that's the stuff that they were talking about, that the exploit that just came out the other day with the new Nugget update that'll probably come out within the next week or so, on up to 26.2 beta 1, but 26.1 is the better version to be on because that's just going to be more stable than a beta. Plus, you won't have to worry about a beta pop-up happening. On up to iOS 26.1, you'll be able to, for example, enable Stage Manager on your iPhone, turn your iPhone into an iPad, enable Always On Display, enable Dynamic Island for older devices. If it's a brand new device, that one obviously isn't relevant. Same with Always On Display. But yeah, some really, really cool things that you can do with Nugget, and it actually goes beyond just enabling like unsupported features, because like I was saying with the wallpaper stuff, it's definitely worth it to check out. And there was a time where, like I was saying, I've been saying this on Twitter, I had negative amounts of hope when it came to anything happening jailbreak related, and so Nugget kind of filled that void of like, hey, there's really not going to be any jailbreak stuff anymore. But at the same time, even though this isn't a jailbreak, it kind of feels like it's closer to that than we've ever been because of the fact that before, any things that weren't jailbreaks that were like iOS customization years and years back, it was like you added Safari web clips and Safari bookmarks basically to add custom icons and custom theming to your phone, where it had to like open Safari first and redirect. And then it would redirect after it opened Safari. Then it would redirect to whatever app you assigned to it. So that was a mess. And proper theming with a jailbreak was always the way to go. Let's see, what are people saying so far? By the way, welcome on in to everybody that is just now tuning in. How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Let me read some of the comments that you guys are saying. Will you be able to use the 17.0 semi jailbreak? Oh, he's saying, yeah, basically what I was saying, that it's the people that are going to be able to use it are slim. Still definitely a good find for if another core trust exploit comes out in the future for later versions. Yes. However, at the same time, that might be another 1 in a million chance that happens again. I mean, Troll Store has only, in the entire history of all of this stuff, in the 19 years that the iPhone has been around, in the 19 different iPhone OS versions or iOS versions that has existed, this has only ever happened 2 times, Troll Store. So just keep that in mind, that it's probably not going to be happening frequently. If it does happen again, that's going to be like a whoa, that's crazy type of thing. Let's see. Highest CPU in the iPhone 15 is an A17 Pro. Yes. Little, what's up? How you doing? Thanks for coming on to the stream. I appreciate it. Let me see. I haven't even looked on Twitter since I tweeted out that I was live. Okay. Nobody really said anything. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much all that's happening right now on that Nugget front. The exploit came out, and actually Little, I'm not sure if Little is still in here, but Little is one of the developers. Yes, he is still in here. Little is one of the developers, or really the developer behind Misaka. I had thought about doing a video on that. That is one of the first that has some of these new mobile Gestalt or Gestalt. I don't know. All the developers for some reason say Gestalt, but Gestalt felt right to me over the course of the past few years. So I've always said mobile Gestalt, but I don't know which one is right. Anyway, yeah, the new stuff that's based on this new exploit, Little made an update to Misaka for iOS 26 that will do that stuff. The problem is, and I thought about maybe looking into doing a video about it, the problem is a couple of things. For one, this is going to be, and Nugget eventually will be Windows and all that stuff, and I think they're working towards getting a Windows version maybe for Misaka at some point. I mean, I obviously can't speak for that. But right now, Misaka, what he released is only Apple Silicon, and it's only Mac. So those two things. So it doesn't work on Intel Macs, and it doesn't work on Windows computers at all. So that'll probably change at some point, but that's the first situation there. The other thing is that when messing around with certain things and I guess debugging certain things before he released it, I believe Little also boot looped his phone. And he also lists it as well as unstable. So it's just one of those things where it's like, it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to cover a tool that the developer says is unstable right now. So I have gotten comments and, tweets and stuff saying, this is out now, you should do a video for it. But that's kind of my situation at this point, is that right now for that, it's not super stable, and I would just much rather have people wait until Nugget comes out, and that will be the more stable option. Sir Stars, what's up? Yeah, I don't know anything about the console jailbreak scene, to be honest. It's never anything I actually attempted for any console, because the difference between console jailbreaks versus iOS and iPhone jailbreaking is, for one, obviously there's way more you can do, and I feel like for console jailbreaking, I mean, there's probably more customization you can do to the console as well. But it's definitely more centered around piracy and running, games and that type of thing. It's probably more so situated around that for a lot of people. But it's not even just that. It's the fact that if you modify the console at all, a lot of these companies, whether it's Nintendo or Sony or whoever, if you're playing a game online and they see that the console is modified in any way, they'll ban it from being able to go online. So to me, that was always just like that's not even worth it for me to take a look into at that point. If they ban the console from being able to like use online functionality, if I want to play a game with my friends, I can't do that because the console was banned from being able to go online. So for me, it just never made any sense to attempt anything like that anyway. And I never looked into it at all for any of my consoles. So if only the same was happening on iOS. Sadly, Apple bounties are. Yeah, that definitely is true. Why do I get an error when I press apply in Misaka? The dev, I think, is still in here, so he might be able to speak to that. I have not used Misaka right now because of the fact that the developer themselves obviously is even saying that it's a little bit unstable at the moment. So it's not necessarily something that I would fully recommend that everybody uses, especially on their primary device. If you're using it on your primary device, it's not a great idea, especially if you don't know what it is that you're changing. Those two things are like the worst possible thing. If you're using it on your primary device and you don't know what it is that you're changing and you don't know what it is that you're doing, those two things are going to cause the most amount of problems for you. It's just like, years back, if somebody jailbroke their phone and they installed iFile or Fileza or anything on there, and they're messing around with system files, deleting things, modifying things, and they don't know what they are. It's a very, very similar thing of like, yes, this isn't a jailbreak, so it's going to be a little bit different than that. But still, if you're changing and customizing and modifying things that you don't know what they are, and it is your primary device, those two things are always not a good idea. If you're going to mess with this, for the time being, until there's a much more stable option out, until Nugget comes out, for instance, if you're going to mess with this, for one, make sure that you have a backup. And then the second thing is, I would say make sure that this isn't the primary device that you're using. That's what I would say on that. 26.0.1. Georgie, you can go if you'd like. You can go to 26.1. I actually am recommending that to everybody right now because any of this new exploit stuff, whether it's Nugget or Misaka or whatever, that works on 26.1. And the other thing is, too, 26.1 added that new tinted glass option. So even if you like liquid glass, having that option to have the customization there to be able to control it is something that's really awesome. 26.1 is not going to be the latest firmware forever, and it's not going to be signed forever. Eventually, new iOS versions will come out, the window will close, and even the window to delay OTA will remain open for a little while. That's going to be open for a little while, but eventually that will close as well, and then there won't be any way to get onto that. So I would just recommend 26.1 for people that are already on 26. It's definitely a good idea. That's definitely the firmware to be at. I do remember that, Rob. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I haven't heard from Pone either. Yeah. Pone used to hook me up too. But yeah, I don't think anybody's heard from him. I think he just kind of like faded away, unfortunately, which is a shame because he was a really talented guy. All those guys were. I mean, I remember when I interviewed Opa, He was very, very modest about all of his achievements and accomplishments in the community, and said something to the, and I still remember this because it stuck with me, said something to the extent of, he laughed when I was giving him his flowers and was saying, you do a lot for the community. And I remember him saying, well, you know, it's not really that hard. It's not really that difficult. Somebody just has to put the pieces together. What I'm doing is not that difficult. And I said, well, yes and no. I mean, if that were true, there'd be way more people that were doing it in the community. I understood the basis of what he was saying, that, the more difficult thing was to come up with the exploit to begin with and to find that stuff, and to actually have it work. Like, that's the much more difficult piece. Stringing all the pieces together is something that pretty much he was saying, like, that's the easy part. But I mean, yes and no, because at the same time, what do we have these days but random pieces scattered throughout the community that, like, could maybe in theory be useful one day, but nobody wants to put the pieces together anymore, because it's not just two pieces that you have to put together. It's this piece and that piece and this piece, and then you have to wait until another piece comes out. It's very different than it used to be. Let's see. Why did Pattern F step out of helping the jailbreak scene? He finds a lot of stuff. That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like I was going to say Pattern F maybe got hired by Apple, but maybe that's not true. I don't know. I don't know why he stepped away from the scene. A lot of people out there say jailbreaking is dead. What's your opinion on this? Yes. My opinion was yes for a long time. Like I said, I had negative amounts of hope there was anything regarding a jailbreak that was happening anytime soon, to the point where Nugget was enough for me for a while. That felt to me, all of the various things that you can do with Nugget. Again, you're not getting Cylinder to run on your phone. You're not getting Dynamic Stage. You're not getting Atria. You're not getting Crane. Some of these popular tweaks that people, talk about. You're not getting some of that. You can't install tweaks from Cilio on Nugget. Like, that's not a thing. But a lot of the cool Nugget customization stuff is much closer to a jailbreak than we have had in previous years, when jailbreaks didn't exist and there was nothing for new iOS versions. So it feels much more like, while there's not a jailbreak, at least there's some cool stuff to customize your phone that wasn't previously possible. So that's what I would say on that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, like, I think I might do this stream again a little bit later on, either today or at some point throughout the week, because I definitely want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you think. The other thing that I would say as well, if you guys haven't checked out my last couple of videos, some really cool stuff that I am covering and I'm in the process of covering, so continue to stay tuned on here, because there's going to be some really cool videos coming up soon. The iOS 17.0 semi-jailbreak tutorial, that stuff's coming out soon. Whenever the semi-jailbreak ends up coming out, I'll make a video for that, so that's going to be exciting. So stay tuned for that. The other thing is, as well, there was a Troll Store app that came out months ago that flew kind of under the radar for me. I didn't really see very many people talking about it. I found out about it around probably towards the end of the summer. I put the video together in like early September, and there was just a lot of stuff going on with Nugget the past couple of months, and I said, whenever I find time to put this out, that's when I'm going to do it. And so the video is out now, and it's pretty cool because it is a Troll Store app that gives you live song lyrics across your phone. So the home screen, the lock screen, if you're in apps, it's really, really cool, because, like, obviously the fact that you can do that without a jailbreak is it's just strange to begin with, that is a possibility without a jailbreak. But that's really cool, and I don't even know if there were even any jailbreak tweaks that did that. There may have been recently, because I obviously have not been keeping track of what's been released the past, like, year and a half, since there's been no jailbreaks out in the way of tweaks. I have no idea in the way of tweaks what's been going on there. But yeah, that's definitely a really cool custom thing. So I would definitely say to check that video out. But yeah, that's pretty much at this point right now all I have to say. I think I'm going to wrap the stream up for the moment. Um, I might be back on here later today. If not, at some point throughout the week, I'll probably be back on here. I've also been streaming pretty regularly as well on Twitter. So it's at the Jailbreak Hub over on Twitter to check out the Twitter spaces that I've been doing. A lot of people love those as well. I'm still going to do stuff for the YouTube peeps, for the YouTube audience. But at the same time, I know a lot of people like Twitter stuff as well. And that stuff is cool because sometimes developers join and I'm able to get them in there, and it's an easier way to encompass them. So should I stay on 26.0.1 or upgrade to 26.1? Upgrade to 26.1. That's what I would tell you to do. One day, 5 or 10 years from now, the difference between that there might have been exploits that were patched in 26.1, and 10 years from now, there might be a jailbreak that happens first. But that's like, I would not sit around waiting for that when it's like, there is no confirmed situation at all where that would even matter. 26.1, you get the new tinted glass option. You get a way to customize liquid glass that wasn't there before. So I definitely would say for sure, absolutely, it's worth it to go to 26.1. Especially because the stuff that's here in the now that is possible to mess with, that works on 26.1. So that's why I'm saying it's definitely worth it to migrate over to 26.1. With that being said, though, guys, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. If anyone has last-minute questions, if anybody has anything that they want to talk about, feel free, let me know. But again, I'm probably going to start to wrap this up soon. Just because it is a little bit earlier in the morning here. But I did want to do a quick early morning stream and see how everybody was doing. But yeah, probably we'll start to wrap this up soon. I will stick around for another few minutes. We'll see if anybody has anything else that they want to talk about. But yeah, that 17.0 semi jailbreak should be really cool. It's the first time in a really, really long time, again, since dopamine. It's the first time in a really long time that we've had any semblance of anything jailbreak related. And I know that there are some jailbreak content creators that have still been trying to do stuff, and they will talk about 5 or 10 other CVEs that, have been patched, and even though there's nothing that's actually going to be done with those CVEs, it's still like, oh, hey, maybe that's news. But this is the first semblance of actual tangible jailbreak news that we've had in quite some time. So do you have any idea when Misaka X is coming to Windows? I do not. Little was in here earlier. I'm not sure if he's still in here or not. I do not. What I will tell you is Nugget is currently under development, and that will do a lot of the same stuff and probably even more than Misaka does currently. It will be a little bit more stable, and also that will have a Windows version eventually. Lemon last night did come out and say that the Windows version right now, I guess there's some stuff that needs to be done because the Windows version right now is not super stable. It's pretty buggy and it doesn't work reliably, from what I remember him saying. Let me see if I can pull that tweet up from last night. What did he say? Let's see. So he said, Nugget v7 beta has been confirmed to work on Windows, albeit with some workarounds like enabling developer mode. We'll hopefully work around this soon. It is in a highly unstable state right now and needs a lot more development before it's ready to release. So that's what he was saying on the Nugget front. That was what Lemon was saying, is that it technically works, and there's a version that's in beta right now that technically works, but it's not that stable. It doesn't work that reliably. And so it definitely needs to be worked on a little bit more for it to be ready to be released. I don't know if that's the same story on the Misaka side. Little did just say Windows version is being in beta test a few minutes ago. Okay. So sounds like ETA Sun at some point, based on what Little just said. Little just said that there is a Windows version that's being beta tested right now. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's coming today. I mean, obviously, of course, unless Little says that. Doesn't necessarily mean a Windows version is coming out right now. It might take a little while to continue to be beta tested, and he might need to continue to fix up some bugs before it's ready to go. So I would say, like I said, ETA Sun. Don't necessarily expect a specific ETA unless the developers say something about that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I would say on that front. Um, I'm going to wait another few moments just because I don't know if Little wanted to say anything else about that. But I'm probably going to wrap this up for the moment. So I appreciate everybody coming in here. And yeah. Also, by the way, eBay sellers do not, some of them do not conceptually understand what is happening in terms of iOS updates and stuff. This guy is definitely not technically inclined, because I reached out to an eBay seller asking what iOS version their 15 Pro is on. And they wrote back saying, hello, it is running the most up-to-date version 26.1. However, it is able to have iOS 17 installed onto it, which isn't, yeah, when it was brand new, it had 17.0, but if you're on 26, that's it. You can't, there's no magical downgrade solution for an iOS version that's 1,000 years old at this point. So just goes to show you that there are some eBay sellers that are in the know. Probably a lot of them aren't. And so that's why I was crossing my fingers and hoping that maybe there's a needle in a haystack and a diamond in the rough somewhere that they don't know what iOS version it's on. They have never updated their phone because they're not the type of person that updates their phone. And they're not tech savvy, so they're not going to like do a 400% jailbreak tax because they don't know anything about jailbreaking, and they see what a regular iPhone 15 is going for market value wise. So they'll price it at a reasonable price. If it was more than one iOS version, the odds of that are significantly higher that you do end up getting lucky. But it's so difficult to the point that I asked ChatGPT to see if it could like help me narrow the search down and to see if I could like somehow automate that search. And it said that it did a search and it could not find any available listings that weren't like exorbitant amounts of money. So it is a shame. Hopefully, over time, that gets a little bit better. But again, you know, it's difficult because this is for an iOS version that's very old at this point now. So the odds that it's getting any better to find are probably low. But anyway, with that being said, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up for now. I appreciate it. And yeah, I will talk to everybody later. Have a great rest of your day, guys.